Hello students, let's read the problem, and it says the quadrilateral FGHJ was reflected across the x-axis to get the quadrilateral F prime G prime H prime J prime. Which of the following rules best describes this transformation? So let's see, what are we going to be looking for? We're looking for the rule, okay, right here, that best describes the transformation. Okay, so they are telling you already that it's a reflection, right? And they're actually also telling you that it's reflecting across the x-axis. So all of that is major information already. Okay, so what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go and find out the coordinates for my F, G, H, and J points from my quadrilateral. Okay, so let's find the points that I need for here. So my point F, okay, I'm gonna write it down, and that's -7 and 7. Okay, my point G, it's -5 and +1. My point H, it's 3 and 2. And my last point J, it's 6 and 9. So if you look at the points that we got, I'm getting those points from the actual quadrilateral on the graph, right? So they said that it was going to be a reflection across the x-axis. So my advice is, what about if we highlight the x? Okay, so think about that as the street. That's the street that you want to cross. Okay, so every point that it's on my grid is going to cross that street. So for example, let's look at H, for example. So H is going to cross the street. So it's like you're going to walk, you're going to hit, and you're going to keep on walking. You see that? So that's what it means by across. So I'm not crossing the Y. I'm not even touching that. I'm walking towards the X, and I'm crossing it to the other side. So my point H is going to be somewhere over here. My point G, my point J, and my point F. So I'm going to erase that in a minute. I just want you to understand that every point is coming from the top quadrants to the bottom quadrants. Okay, so let's go ahead and erase that, because basically I just want to show you that that's basically what's happening. Okay, so let me erase this, and I'm going to highlight x-axis again. So I know what you're thinking. How do I decide how far am I going to go once I cross the street? Well, think about this as counting the blocks. For example, H, it's actually 2 units away from the x-axis. So when you cross it, you're going to walk 2 units also from there. So we're going to count 1 and 2. So right here is what H is going to be. You guys see that? So we're going to do the same thing with G. How far away is G? It's 1 unit. So when you cross it, you're going to walk only 1 unit. It's going to be right there. And that will be G prime. Okay? So notice how I put like a little apostrophe just to denotate that that is my new image. Okay? Now, how about J? And I know what you're thinking, Miss, but what about if the points are not in the graph? How can I do it? Well, I'm going to show you the rule. Hopefully that can help you understand. Okay? So let's go ahead and look at G and G prime. So G, I got the point -5 and 1. What about G prime? Let's find out the coordinates for G prime. Well, G prime is still -5, but now it went down and it's actually a -1. Okay, what about H prime? Well, H prime, it's also on the same X than the H, which is 3, but on the Y now it's -2. So I don't know if you see a connection already. Okay, so look at X, and I'm gonna write some labels here. This is my X and this is my Y value. This is my X, Y, X, Y, X, Y. Because I want you to see what's happening. So, what happened to the X values? What can you tell me about the X values? They stay the same, right? The X is not changing. It was a -5, it stays as a -5 on G. On H, it was a +3, it stays as a +3. So we can see that the X is not changing. What about the Y? What do you notice about the Y? It was a +1, and I see a -1. It was a +2, and now it's a -2. So what happens? The Y changes to the opposite. So let's see if you can give me F prime. So we're gonna do it on using the rule, and then we're gonna go to the grid to see if it's actually, if it makes sense. So we agree that X is gonna stay the same. So -7 stays the same. What about the Y value? Well, we said that it becomes the opposite. So I had a +7, then it looks like it's gonna be a -7. So I'm gonna ask you to come back to the grid now, and let's find F prime. So F prime, I'm gonna count the steps. Okay, we're gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's 7 units away from the x-axis, so we're gonna count 7 straight on the same path. Okay, so I'm gonna go from there, and this is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 right there. So I want you to look at the point from there. That point is actually -7. And if you look across, it's -7. So notice how I got the same point that I got here. Yes? So what about if you can check on J prime? Okay, what do you think my point is going to be for J prime? Well, we agree that the X stays the same, right? And the Y changes to the opposite. So if it was a +9, it would be a -9. So what rule can I apply for that? Well, it looks like if my values were this, right? X stays the same. It didn't change, right? But the Y value changed to the opposite. Therefore, that would be a -Y. Okay, so let's look at the answer choices. See if you can find this answer in your answer choices. Okay, and the answer would be letter D for us. Very good. Okay, so I want you to plot the last point J prime just so that you can see how the picture is supposed to look like. So my last point J prime is going to be +6 and -9, which is somewhere over here. And this will be my J prime. Okay, so what I want to do is I actually want to connect the points so that you can see how my picture is supposed to look like. Okay, so let's do our best trying to connect the points here. Might not be exactly perfect, but this is what I want you to see. I want you to see that the picture actually reflects over the x-axis. If you were to fold it, or if you have a patty paper, something like that, you can actually see that that is a reflection.